They try to tell me that aliens built the pyramids. It's funny cause they probably did.
Fuck I'm doing talking about pineal glands. Fuck I'm doing talking about pineal glands. Ancient ways of Sumerians. Ain't nothing wrong with a righteous man.
This is my Anunnaki flow. This be my Anunnaki flow. Yo, I got that Anunnaki flow. You are now on planet X. I'm the god, show your respect. I'm the destroyer, and this is doomsday. 360,000 years since I made way. Hey, I hate to be the one to warn ya. Your government knew all along, guess they weren't trying to spoil it for ya. Boy, oh boy, I'm hot to death. High as my magnetic field. Theologists preach of me, but they don't think I'm really real. All my angels up in here, all my demons up in here. I know who brought you in this world, they'll take you out of here. The law of relativity's cute, I even sunk Atlantis too. NASA on that bullshit, they always cropping out my crew. And they be loving the crew, yeah, they be loving the crew. I know that you heard about me way back in school. Mayan calendars, you went to church, we all know revelations. You see Porsches, behold a pale horses, galloping across the nation. Watch out for them 7 seals, I'll be in the sky. The Euphrates river's dry, so you know it's real.
Fuck I'm doing talking about pineal glands. Fuck I'm doing talking about pineal glands. Ancient ways of Sumerians. Ain't nothing wrong with a righteous man.
This is my Anunnaki flow. This be my Anunnaki flow. Yo, I got that Anunnaki flow. You are now on planet X. I'm the god, show your respect. No man knoweth the hour of my return. It'll be like a thief in the night. Make sure your people's alright. That's right, the writings on the wall. They was only worried about Saddam, cause they ain't had a bars to go against the gods. The only brown dwarf swagging.
He was only worried about Saddam because they didn't have the balls to go against the gods.
They was debating about Kobe and LeBron, the Bible or the Quran. They should have been taking cover. They said I'm red, but gold is my favorite color. Witnesses agree, they see me with wings when I hover. Might even make your pole shift when I'm skipping through. My orbit is a bitch on her menstrual. They undermined the prophecy of Daniel, that's a bummer. Now I'm at your doorstep, but not for sugar. It's that Anunnaki flow. Inky and Lil would love it. Sirius is the war in Syria, bitch.
Fuck I'm doing talking about pineal glands. Fuck I'm doing talking about pineal glands. Ancient ways of Sumerians. Ain't nothing wrong with a righteous man.
This is my Anunnaki flow. This be my Anunnaki flow. Yo, I got that Anunnaki flow. You are now on planet X. I'm the god, show your respect. My power.
Global warming's a lie, the moon is a satellite. Holographic universe.
North Star to God. This for you, homie. This for you, homie.
Back in the 1950s, most people aren't aware of it, but there was a scientific storm in America all through the late 50s about this thing out there in space, because the astronomers were all watching it, and that was back when they weren't afraid to talk about it. It was in the science magazines. I mean, I had a subscription to, like, Popular Science, and hell, it was on the front cover of the magazine one day in, like, 1961.
Hey, yo, just in case I get killed for this shit.
Because here's this giant red planet on the horizon of the California coast, and a humongous tidal wave coming in towards the coast, and having grew up in the mountains and this thing in the magazine, it said this tidal wave coming in was going to be at least 3 miles high, and I went and showed it to everybody in the house, and they laughed, and they said, look, it says right here, there's nothing to worry about, it won't be here for another 50 years. Hey, guess what? That 50 years has came and gone. And this baby's out there in the sky. They've been watching it. I watched it. And I can tell you, this thing has got so much trash coming around it. You know how we live in a solar system? We've got 9 planets and a big sun. This thing has got 7 planets and its own sun. But
millennia, ancient civilizations around the globe left their mark on history, building supermassive structures that defy any logical explanation. Our ancestors made sure to remain ever present in history books by creating these precisely engineered megalithic structures for advanced purposes we still lack the knowledge and understanding to discover. Today, we admire and research the incredible monuments built thousands of years ago trying to answer some of the most important historical questions. How did civilization develop? How did they manage to transport massive stones weighing up to 100 tons? And why are so many monuments similar in design, yet in continents that weren't connected in any way? But perhaps the most critical question we have failed to address is, what if there was a higher purpose to these ancient structures? And what if these remarkable monuments were placed not randomly, but strategically positioned around the globe? There's clearly a connection between all of these pyramids and megalithic structures scattered around the planet. Perhaps the only explanation is that an advanced global civilization once ruled over the entire planet and built all of these pyramids and megaliths, which were most likely some kind of energy transmitters utilizing the energy of Earth's grid. If you take a look at the world map and look at the position of all of these significant ancient monuments, you'll notice that most of them can easily be connected with straight lines, almost as if the ancient builders used advanced forms of geometry and mathematical equations and carved them in stone. To this day, not a single scientist knows who built the pyramids of Giza and what their real purpose is. There are zero clues suggesting the pyramids were even made by ancient Egyptians, since they're not mentioned in any Egyptian text. No Egyptian hieroglyphs were found at the pyramids, and no mummies either. In fact, there aren't even any soot marks from flame torches inside the pyramids, meaning that whoever built the pyramids used a different source of lighting, perhaps electrical. Recent evidence suggests that the pyramids of Giza are considerably older than previously thought, perhaps built by some lost ancient civilization far more advanced than anything we could ever imagine. How were all of these massive monuments around the world erected, and how did these ancient people manage to place the Great Pyramid of Giza at the exact center of all landmass on Earth? Did you know that the east-west parallel that crosses the most land and the north-south meridian that crosses the most land intersect in two places on the Earth, one in the ocean and the other at the Great Pyramid of Giza? How is this possible without the ability to fly and circumnavigate the globe? People from that era shouldn't have even known that they are living on a globe, let alone build precisely centered structures. The pyramids, specifically those at Giza, are incredible achievements, which couldn't be possible without an advanced understanding of geometry, astronomy, physics, and mathematics, all combined to form monuments that have stood the test of time. The weight of the Great Pyramid of Giza is estimated at 5,955,000 tons. If we multiply that number by 10 to the 8th power, we get a reasonable estimate of the Earth's mass. Another shocking fact is that the coordinates of the Great Pyramid exactly match the unit measuring the speed of light. How can anyone even explain that? If we were to recreate the Great Pyramid of Giza today, we would have difficulties doing so, despite our knowledge and machinery. This fact alone makes the pyramids of Giza a true ancient marvel. We don't want to take away credit to the ancient man who built incredible structures, but did they really manage this with sticks and stones? Or, as some authors suggest, did they possess far more advanced technology than we are willing to accept? We can't help to wonder if there is a slight chance that ancient cultures all over the world were somehow connected, or perhaps were governed by beings whose influence reached the entire planet. Beings the ancients called gods, who came from the stars. Before we continue, we're thrilled to announce the grand opening of the Universe Inside You artwork store, where our passion for exploration and knowledge converges with the world of art. Get ready to embark on a visual journey inspired by the captivating tales of ancient Egypt, lost civilizations, mythology, and more. Our shop showcases a stunning collection of canvas prints that bring the mysteries of the past to life. The link to our store is in the description and the top pinned comment. Keep in mind that the artwork products are limited, so make sure to get yours before it's gone. Thank you for your continued support, and we can't wait to share this exciting new venture with you. What else can explain the mass building of countless ancient sites that look extremely similar in design and architecture, and perhaps had a similar purpose? Almost as if every single culture on our planet felt the need to place massive monuments in specific locations. Many researchers wonder if it is possible that these ancient monuments were not randomly placed, but were aligned perfectly with great precision for a higher purpose we still haven't discovered. This geographical alignment between ancient sites built thousands, if not tens of thousands of years ago, tells us how sophisticated this ancient civilization or civilizations actually were. These ancient sites not only align with themselves, but they also align with star constellations. The correlation of ancient sites with star constellations can be found anywhere. You only have to look at the pyramids of Giza, Atlanta Tambo, Nazca Lines, Easter Island, and many others to cite this breathtaking connection that tells an incredible story ignored by millions. You won't read about these alignments in history books. Can the placements of these sites be attributed to mere coincidence? Were these sites placed randomly by the ancients? Or is it possible that the ancient civilizations of the Egyptians, Maya, Olmec, Inca, and others that existed before them were guided or governed by more intelligent beings, who instructed and helped them to place their cities, temples, and monuments on specific locations on the surface of the earth, creating an incredible global connection that has only recently been discovered by researchers. According to the ancients, all of the great monuments they created were either built by the gods or built for them. Why would the ancient civilizations give the credit for these sophisticated monuments to the gods if they were built by simple humans? The Romans never gave credit for their aqueducts, colosseums, temples, and roads to the gods. They were proud to be the inventors of such sophisticated creations. And the Romans, as advanced as they were for their time, could never build anything of the scale of the Pyramid of Giza, let alone at the scale of the Bosnian Pyramid, which is perhaps the largest pyramid of the world. Another fascinating alignment is the Great Circle alignment. Ancient sites like Easter Island, Nazca Lines, Atlanta Tambo, and the pyramids of Giza are all aligned on a single great circle. There is a remarkable connection among ancient structures that is indicative of a far greater meaning than we're aware of. If that's not enough to make you wonder, then what about the incredible alignments of ancient structures with star constellations? For at least 10,000 years, human beings have been observing the movement of the stars, studying the heavens, constructing calendars, and erecting monuments to track the precession of the constellations and heavenly bodies across the sky. Many ancient cultures share the belief that we came from the stars. Perhaps that's why a great amount of time, effort, and energy has been put into the study of the celestial bodies from ancient times right up through today. Several constellations and stars have played an important role in ancient mysteries and mythology surrounding the celestial origins of our species. In the places where these legends emerge, we find structures that correlate with the position of these stars and constellations. What were our ancient predecessors trying to tell us with this information? The constellation of Orion is one of the most prominent and recognizable constellations in the sky, as its location on the celestial equator allows it to be seen all over the planet. We know from ancient Egyptian texts, which are among the oldest religious writings in the world, that the Egyptians believed that the gods descended from the belt of Orion and from Sirius in the form of humanoid beings. The 3 pyramids at Giza are some of the most mysterious, perplexing, and magnificent ancient structures in the world. Together, they demonstrate the concept of sacred alignment as they form a precise 3-dimensional map of the stars in the belt of Orion onto the ground. Their size and placement also take into account both the visible brightness and location of the stars within Orion's belt, as the 2 larger pyramids are lined up perfectly with the constellation. Located in the highlands of central Mexico, 35 miles northeast of present-day Mexico City, lies the ruins of the ancient city of Teotihuacan, another marvel of the ancient world with ties to star constellations. The city was one of the largest in the world at its peak, with an approximate population of 150,000 to 200,000 people. Its origins are a complete mystery, and no one knows who built it. It was made by hand more than 1,000 years before the arrival of the Aztecs in central Mexico. Like many sacred sites from the ancient world, the structures at Teotihuacan are also constructed mirroring celestial alignments. The Teotihuacan complex contains 3 pyramids, 2 larger and 1 smaller, precisely aligned with the belt of Orion and boosting an evident similarity to the layout of the pyramids at Giza. Another interesting thing about Teotihuacan is the fact that it depicts our solar system with great precision. Also, some people believe that the site is remarkably similar to a computer circuit board. Almost all of the ancient structures around the world align with the stars, starting from the pyramids of Giza, going all the way to Mexico in the ancient city of Teotihuacan, going north to the layout of the ancient Native American Hopi villages in the American Southwest. The natural structure of the 3 mesas mirrors the 3 stars in the belt of Orion, and it was said that this is why the Hopi chose to settle in this location. And all the way to northern England, in the stone borough hinges, a Neolithic landscape complex dating to 3500 BC also aligns with the constellation. The same can be said about the Xi'an Pyramid in China, another marvel of the ancients. It's evident that we are missing a vital part of our history. The ancients were far more advanced than we think. Do you believe a global civilization used to exist on Earth, influencing every continent? What do you think is the explanation of why all of these ancient monuments are so similar in their makeup and architecture? The theory that advanced beings from another planet may have assisted in building the Great Pyramid of Giza is not something new, and when you think about it, it's not as crazy as it may sound. What else could explain how some of the most amazing and mysterious engineering feats in human history were accomplished? Moving massive stone blocks, apparently quarried from many miles away, and assembling them into something so colossal and precise seems like an insurmountable task, even today, with all the machinery and knowledge we possess. How did the ancients manage it so many thousands of years ago without the use of modern construction techniques and tools? How did they align the position of the pyramids with the Orion constellation and the shaft openings to the Sirius and Draco constellations? Logically, it appears the ancient Egyptians must have known something or someone that we didn't. Some say that only those who have access to advanced technology would be able to create such a masterpiece. The creation of the Pyramid of Giza required extremely advanced mathematical, architectural, engineering, geological, geographical, and even astronomical knowledge. Only then would they be able to create such a massive stone structure with perfect mathematical alignment. Then again, maybe we aren't giving them the respect that they deserve. The ancient Egyptians were awfully smart, so maybe they could well have built their own pyramids without any help from extraterrestrials. But the fact is, of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, not only is the Great Pyramid of Giza the only one still standing, but it was already almost 2,000 years old when other cultures began to build their wonders. And that is, if we believe what they tell us in school, that the pyramids are around 4,000 years old, which according to recent revelations is not true. Archaeological and geological discoveries prove that the pyramids were actually built around 10,000 years ago, a time when humans were believed to still be living in caves. All of these inconsistencies lead many people to believe in the stranger explanation, the only one which actually makes sense. Those who believe in the ancient astronaut theory have more reasons than the complexity of pyramid design to think that ancient alien visitors may have had a hand in the development and even in the creation of early civilizations. The head of Cairo University's archaeology department, Professor Dr. Allah Shaheen, has allegedly stated in a conference on ancient Egyptian science that there might be truth in the theory that ancient alien visitors may have been responsible for building the pyramids of Giza. Being further questioned by Mr. Marek Nowak, a delegate from Poland, as to whether the pyramid might still contain alien technology within its structure, Dr. Shaheen was vague and replied, "I cannot confirm or deny this, but there is something inside the pyramid that is not of this world." Is there enough evidence to conclude that visitors from another planet have been here for thousands of years, guiding and influencing the advancement of mankind? Or were the ancients far more advanced than we could possibly imagine? Has some important information about our past been lost through the ages? Of course, we'll probably never know for sure, but let's take a closer look and explore the shocking facts, the mind-blowing theories, and the fascinating possibilities about the true origin of the greatest and the most mysterious structure on our planet. The Great Pyramid is considered to be the most important construction in Earth's history, but there is not a single image, drawing, artifact, or inventory list, no registry or depiction to tell of its construction by any ancient civilization. The Egyptians left us 3,000 years of written history, covering their entire history, but nothing about the pyramids of Giza. It makes you wonder why. Perhaps the reason is simply that the pyramids weren't part of their history. But if the Egyptians are not the constructors of the pyramids, then who is? If we can't find any information about the pyramids in any of the ancient Egyptian writings, perhaps we should look elsewhere. Perhaps we should study the ancient texts of a civilization even older than the Egyptian one. The very first civilization to even develop the writing system. In ancient Mesopotamia, beginning somewhere around 4000 BC, there was a fertile region called Sumer, and a people we refer to as Sumerians. These people, like the Egyptians, were pretty advanced for the age in which they lived. They had an advanced knowledge of mathematics and architecture, and are considered the creators of civilization as modern humans understand it. The Sumerians are also the first civilization to record history, which gives us some astonishing revelations. Studying the ancient Sumerian writings, we know they revered gods they called the Anunnaki, which literally means those who from heaven to earth came. And not only the Sumerians, apparently other cultures in Mesopotamia knew of these deities as well. In the ancient text of the Sumerians, the area's original inhabitants, stories are told of their interaction with gods and how these gods bestowed advanced wisdom and technology upon the Sumerians, effectively founding the human race as we know it today. There are some who believe that these Anunnaki were not gods at all, but ancient extraterrestrial visitors who came to Earth many thousands of years in the distant past. These days, the Anunnaki are at the center of a great deal of debate regarding ancient alien visitations and what exactly the ancient people saw. Many people believe the Anunnaki creation story is not just mythology. In fact, the Sumerians themselves admit that all knowledge they possess was actually given to them by these beings. They believe that these beings came from the heavens and passed their advanced knowledge to mankind, alongside a portion of their extraterrestrial DNA. Hence, they became our creator gods. Back in the 1970s, after studying, translating, and interpreting the ancient Sumerian texts, the late Zecharia Sitchin realized they revealed stunning information about the origins of the human race. He then wrote a series of books where he put forward his theories. The story, according to Sitchin, is as follows. The Anunnaki were not gods, but rather visitors who came to Earth from the planet Nibiru some 445,000 years ago. They were not on vacation. They came to Earth with a very specific purpose, to hunt for gold. They first touched down in the Persian Gulf, led by half-brothers Enki and Enlil, where, over many years, they drained the marshes of the northern coast and created a vast irrigation system between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, founding a flourishing Anunnaki colony. During this time, they attempted to obtain the gold they had come for from under the waters of the Persian Gulf. But when this proved far too difficult, they were forced to up and move the entire operation to a place they knew was a gold hotspot, South Africa. For over 100,000 years, they mined the area, extracting copious amounts of gold, until finally, the lower-class Anunnaki who were tasked with working the mines, known as the Igigi, rebelled against their masters over the harsh working conditions. Having lost their workforce, but still wanting the gold, Enki and Enlil came up with a radical plan to replace the Igigi. At that time, South Africa was home to primitive human-like beings known as Homo erectus. The Anunnaki decided that they would use genetic manipulation and in vitro fertilization to create from these primitive beings a species of slave workers for the mines. Accordingly, they took the egg of a primitive human-like female and fertilized it with the sperm of an Anunnaki male, then placed the fertilized egg in the womb of an Anunnaki female. The offspring would be called Adamu, the first man. In conducting this procedure, the Anunnaki genetically upgraded Homo erectus, bestowing upon them the intelligence to work the mines, skipping millions of years of evolution as Homo erectus became Homo sapiens overnight. However, the Anunnaki were looking for compliant workers for their mines, not a self-conscious species capable of competing with them. So they inserted genetic barriers which prevented the Adamu from utilizing the full powers and capabilities of the human brain. When they were first created, their slaves were dying faster than the Anunnaki could create new ones, so Enki came up with another brilliant plan. By again manipulating the genetic code of the Adamu, Enki made reproduction possible between two humans. From the genetic material of the Adamu, Enki created a human woman. Because humans could now reproduce, their life cycle was shortened to something more like what it is today. Still, breeding humans quickly became so numerous that they were expelled from the Anunnaki cities of South Africa, at which point they spread across the globe, founding the human civilizations which exist today. Could this story really be possible? Could everything we know about human history, about evolution, really be wrong? It's worth noting that the ancient texts of the Sumerians may not be the only place this story is recorded. In early 1946, in the region now known as the West Bank, a group of Bedouin teenagers were tending to their sheep and goats near the ancient settlement of Qumran. To pass the time, monotonous as it was, they threw around the rocks they found littered across the rugged desert terrain. When one such rock was thrown into the dark expanse of a cave, the teenagers were surprised to hear a loud, shattering noise echoing from within. Exploring, they found a collection of large clay jars, one of which had been broken. Though they did not know it at the moment, these teenagers had made a historic discovery. Inside the jars were a series of ancient scrolls. In the years that followed this discovery, archaeologists, historians, and treasure hunters would find additional scroll fragments in 10 other caves in the area, their composition forming some 800 to 900 manuscripts collectively known as the Dead Sea Scrolls. Among these manuscripts were large portions of a mysterious, non-canonical religious text which had long been forgotten. It was called the Book of Enoch. In its entirety, the Book of Enoch is made up of 5 books: the Book of Watchers, Book of Parables, the Astronomical Book, the Dream Visions, and the Epistles of Enoch, containing some 100 chapters. These chapters tell the story of the 7th patriarch in the book of Genesis, Enoch, the father of Methuselah and grandfather of Noah, the same Noah in the biblical story of Noah's Ark. Yet this was not the biblical story of Noah's Ark. In fact, the Book of Enoch provides an entirely different recounting of the events leading up to the Great Flood of Noah's time. That is, a completely different doctrinal history. It tells a story of the Watchers, explained in biblical terms to be fallen angels, sent to earth to watch over humans at some undefined and ancient point in time. Unfortunately, far from merely watching humans, these Watchers became infatuated by human women and in short order began to engage in depraved sexual acts with them. The Book of Enoch tells of the children born through this interbreeding between Watchers and humans, called the Nephilim. These Nephilim were as described: giants and savages that endangered and pillaged humanity, or, said another way, supernatural man-eating giants. Angered with what the Watchers had done, those described as gods chained them in a subterranean prison deep within the earth. Enoch became the go-between gods and imprisoned Watchers. The book describes Enoch's journeys between heaven and earth in his role as an intermediary, how he flew with the angels and saw the rivers and mountains and the very ends of the earth from above. Yet despite Enoch's intervention, the gods decided the atrocity that the earth had become must be punished. Of course, the punishment would be a great flood. This flood would destroy the Nephilim and cement the Watchers in their prison. Beforehand, however, Enoch would be whisked away to heaven in a fiery chariot. Interestingly, the book of Genesis, which tells of the great flood in Abrahamic traditions, references the Nephilim in chapter 6, describing heroes that were of old, warriors of renown. This is not the only place in biblical canon which the Nephilim appear. In Numbers 13, 32, and 33, the Israelites visit a land inhabited by Nephilim, who are so large they make the Israelites look like grasshoppers. Of course, many things in the Bible are seen in modern times as allegorical, that is, more philosophical myth than historical record. There is archaeological evidence of a great flood in the Earth's past, one incidentally also spoken about in countless religious and cultural traditions across the world. Had beings like Nephilim giants actually existed? Surely there would be similar evidence. What if there is? In our 30-minute documentary video about giants, we highlighted dozens of stories of enormous skeletons unearthed across North America, together with many newspaper articles from the late 19th and early 20th century, suggesting that ancient giants were indeed real and coexisted with early humans. Perhaps if giants did exist, as these records across countless cultures suggest, then the Book of Enoch is less allegorical than it might originally appear, less fantastical myth, and more grounded in actual history. The question is thus, what happened? Why is the Book of Enoch not part of the Bible? Though it was censored, even forgotten, the Book of Enoch never truly disappeared. There is something deeper behind the Book of Enoch and its incredible stories. something which goes beyond simply whether or not it is part of the Christian canon. It has been pointed out that Enoch, the seventh patriarch of the Bible, seems to reflect the seventh antediluvian king in Mendarana in Babylonian tradition. The ancient Greeks believed Enoch to be the same as the god Hermes, while ancient Egyptians had someone similar in their own tradition. The examples could continue, and so it must be asked, why does Enoch, no matter his name, keep appearing in the traditions of the ancients? The answer may go back further than the Greeks, Egyptians, or even the Babylonians, back to the ancient Sumerians. According to Sumerian texts, Earth was visited by a group of supernatural beings sometime in the distant past. These visitors are described in Sumerian tradition in a way that is eerily similar to descriptions of the Watchers in the Book of Enoch. Instead of Watchers, however, Sumerians call these beings the Anunnaki. They were gods to the Sumerians. To modern thinkers like Zecharia Sitchin and Eric von Daniken, they were an ancient race of aliens who came to Earth. Interestingly, Sumerian texts tell stories of these Anunnaki, much like the Watchers, beginning to interbreed with human beings, creating an entirely new species in the process, reflecting the creation of the Nephilim. Like the gods of the Book of Enoch, the Anunnaki became angered with the condition of the earth and brought about a great flood. Is it possible the Book of Enoch, as well as other related traditions, are simply retelling the older Sumerian story of the Anunnaki? Consider the agricultural revolution, which began around 10,000 BCE, during which time human beings transitioned from a lifestyle of hunting and gathering to one of agriculture and settlement. According to historical record, as early as 9500 BCE, in what is now modern Kurdistan, barley, wheat, and rye were being cultivated. Oats, peas, and lentils were being grown, while goats and sheep were domesticated. Some 500 years after that, copper and lead smelting were taking place in the region, alongside weaving and pottery making. Additionally, this ancient Kurdish culture was the first to develop a script, standing as one of humanity's earliest literate societies. Some have asked how human beings could have made this jump so fast. Interestingly, the Kurdish people claim to be the descendants of the children of the jinn, the children of spirits. Is this an ancient cultural reference to the procreation between Anunnaki and human women? According to the Sumerians, it was the Anunnaki who brought advanced knowledge and technology to human beings, lending a helping hand, as it were, to the progression of human civilization. Many have suggested that this explains seemingly impossible monuments like the pyramids of Giza or Teotihuacan, those ancient monuments of extraordinary sophistication, which is completely unexplained by the cultural and social circumstances of historical record. Perhaps this also explains how human beings were able to transition from nomadic hunter-gatherers to sophisticated civilizations in a historically insignificant amount of time. Incredibly, the Book of Enoch describes an almost identical process taking place, with the Watchers mirroring the Anunnaki in providing humans with advanced knowledge and technology. They teach humans metallurgy and mining, science and medicine, how to read and write, and how to read the stars. They teach humans to wear cosmetics and make jewelry, and reveal the secrets of the art of war. The Book of Enoch 8:1-3a reads, "And Azazel taught men to make swords and knives and shields and breastplates, and made known to them the metals of the earth and the art of working them, and bracelets and ornaments, and the use of antimony and the beautifying of the eyelids, and all kinds of costly stones and all coloring tinctures. And there arose much godlessness, and they committed fornication, and they were led astray and became corrupt in all their ways." Was the Book of Enoch in this way merely reflecting and retelling the story of the Anunnaki? It is interesting that the most common example given of something completely unexplained by the cultural and social circumstances of historical record, that is to say, something the Anunnaki must surely have helped ancient humans with, are the Egyptian pyramids. According to the ancient Arabian historian Al-Marizi, these pyramids were built by a king named Sarid, who lived before the Great Flood. Incidentally, Sarid, translated into Hebrew, is Enoch. Sumerian records speak of a giant king by the name of Gilgamesh, who ruled for 126 years. He is generally seen by scholars as an actual historical figure, since inscriptions have been found which confirm the existence of other figures associated with him. In early 2003, a team of German archaeologists working in Iraq stumbled across one of the most significant discoveries of modern times. Deep beneath the desert sands, they discovered what they believed to be the long-lost tomb of the mythical king Gilgamesh, the protagonist of the oldest story human beings ever wrote, the Epic of Gilgamesh. For centuries, historians had been divided over whether Gilgamesh actually existed, since, in the epic, he is described as a 17-foot-tall giant, a crossbreed between a normal human and a Mesopotamian goddess. For this reason, it was generally accepted that the story of Gilgamesh was simply a figment of myth. That was until Jörg Fassbinder and his team of archaeologists, using modern technology to look deep into the ground, discovered an entire ancient city beneath the desert, astonishingly laid out just as the city of Uruk, over which Gilgamesh had purportedly reigned, was described in the epic. There were houses and gardens and fields alongside an incredibly sophisticated system of canals, leading archaeologists to describe the site as Venice in the desert. More importantly, on the outskirts of the ancient city was what appeared to be a burial site, which archaeologists believed to be the tomb of the ancient king. As Fassbinder put it, "I don't want to say definitely it was the grave of King Gilgamesh, but it looks very similar to that described in the epic." What was Fassbinder trying to tell us? If the grave of Gilgamesh was similar to that described in the epic, does that mean that Fassbinder and his team had discovered a tomb with the body of a 17-foot-tall giant? It was, quite simply, a mind-blowing find, a long-lost missing piece of the origins of human history. Surely, archaeologists believed this would change everything, revealing to us secrets we never even knew we lost. But then, the unthinkable happened. Mere weeks after the tomb of Gilgamesh was discovered, the United States invaded Iraq, forcing Fassbinder and his team to abandon their work and flee the country. And the mystery was left unsolved. Or was it? In 1849, an English historian and archaeologist by the name of Austin Henry Layard made a history-changing discovery in the ruins of the library of 7th century BCE Assyrian king Ashur-bani-pal in northern Iraq, believed to be one of the oldest libraries in human history. There, he uncovered an ancient clay tablet many thousands of years old, covered in a curious script which he could not read. Who had written this script? Layard wondered. And what did it say? Incredible as the discovery was, it was only the start. Through the early 1850s, more than 15,000 fragments of similar tablets covered in the same mysterious writing were found at the site. These tablets were sent back to the British Museum, where, for decades, scholars worked at trying to decipher them, using other ancient tablets written in languages they could understand to work backwards and attempt translation. The breakthrough finally came in the 1870s, thanks to a man named George Smith. Born in 1840, Smith left school at 14 and started working as an engraver of banknotes. Though uneducated, he became enamored with news reports emerging from Iraq of strange, indecipherable artifacts older than any on record being found. Following his curiosity, Smith began to visit the British Museum during his lunch hours and spare time to study its holdings, slowly self-teaching himself ancient languages and becoming comfortable with ancient written scripts. By 1866, museum staff finally noticed a strange young man hanging about their archives, so they offered him a job. If he wanted to be a translator, they told him, he could start with the 15,000 fragments found by Austin Henry Layard. For years, Smith worked, until, eventually, the words written on the tablets began to reveal themselves. When they did, Smith was shocked to find the foundation of an unbelievable story. There on the tablets was a record of an ancient deluge, a flood that wiped out humanity save for one man and his family. When Smith presented his findings to the Society of Biblical Archaeology in 1872 at a presentation that even the British Prime Minister attended, it sent shockwaves across Europe and the world as many scholars and theologians proclaimed that this ancient flood story confirmed the truth of the story of Noah in the Bible. In 1875, Smith went further, publishing full translations of everything he had discovered. Though he did not know it at the time, he had begun to translate the oldest story ever written down, a legendary tale that would become known simply as the Epic of Gilgamesh. Tragically, Smith died suddenly in 1876 at only 36 years old, but this was not the end of what he had started. For decades, generations, even to this very day, scholars have continued Smith's work, translating more and more tablets, slowly revealing the full story of the epic. And in fact, it goes far beyond a great flood. In its entirety, the Epic of Gilgamesh tells the fantastic tale of the ancient Mesopotamian king named Gilgamesh, who ruled the area of present-day Iraq many thousands of years in the past. It describes his beginnings as a tyrant and how the gods sought to teach him a lesson by creating a rival named Enkidu. After the two men wrestle to a stalemate, neither better than the other, they become great friends and set off on a series of adventures described in detail within the epic. When Enkidu dies, a distraught Gilgamesh spends the rest of his life searching for the secrets of eternal life, a series of additional adventures again narrated by the epic. It is an unbelievable piece of written work, one which scholars agree greatly influenced the epic literary genre moving forward through history, including famous works like the Iliad and Homer's Odyssey. But what truly drew people to the story in modern times, as its translation was slowly revealed, was its description of Gilgamesh himself, the astounding characteristics of the great king. He was said to have been the child of a human man and a goddess, making him 1/3 human and 2/3 divine. As such, he had a massive physical stature, standing 17 feet tall, and was blessed with superhuman strength and endurance, as well as unusual intelligence. In fact, the story describes Gilgamesh as unsurpassed in all things. But it was more than that. Within the story was a passage about Gilgamesh, which read, "He explored everywhere the seats of power. He knew the totality of wisdom about all things." Throughout history, the search for wisdom has been something that has driven human beings forward. According to the epic, Gilgamesh had reached the end of the maze, obtaining the furthest reaches of wisdom about anything and everything. Taken together, it was these characteristics of Gilgamesh which made the discovery of his tomb in 2003 so potentially earth-shattering. Simply, if archaeologists were able to uncover his tomb and look inside, imagine what hidden secrets they might find. Was Gilgamesh really a giant? His tomb the home of a 17-foot-tall skeleton? Further though, if the tomb of Gilgamesh was opened, what records of his totality of wisdom about all things might be buried with him? What knowledge obtained while he was looking for the secrets of eternal life? The point, however, is that if Iraq really was visited by a group of extraterrestrial visitors called the Anunnaki sometime in the distant past, then the idea that they may have left behind remnants of their advanced alien technology seems less impossible. According to those who back the ancient astronaut theory, evidence of alien visitations are all over the planet if you know where to look. Religious texts, art, and architecture of the ancient world are packed with direct references to extraterrestrial visitations are all over the planet if you know where to look. Religious texts, art, and architecture of the ancient world are packed with direct references to extraterrestrial visitors from another world. Their technology was so advanced that the ancients started to worship them as gods, as some supernatural beings who can fly, who can create life, who can build massive structures, without them even knowing that this is nothing more than advanced science and technology. This theory is the only thing left which can actually explain the creation of all of these megalithic structures scattered around the planet in every continent we know. Structures which were absolutely impossible to build by any ancient civilization. Continuing to study the ancient Sumerian tablets and their stories about the time when the Anunnaki were roaming the earth, we found a passage which may be a direct reference to the pyramids of Giza. After the great biblical flood, which in the Sumerian tablets is referred to as the Great Deluge, we found passages explaining how the Anunnaki gods started a rebuilding process and raised very sophisticated structures created to sustain such catastrophes. In the 10th Sumerian tablet, we find a very interesting passage which reads, "Let the heart of the plain the heavens reflect." So did Enlil to Enki suggests. Once Enki to this agreed, Enlil from the skies of distances took measures. Indeed, studying the pyramids, not only those at Giza, but all pyramids and megalithic structures around the world, we can find this striking similarity. They're all precisely aligned with star constellations, starting from the pyramids of Giza, going all the way to Mexico in the ancient pyramids of Teotihuacan, and even in the layout of the ancient Native American Hopi villages in the southwest. The natural structure of the three mesas also aligns with the three stars in the belt of Orion. Even the Xi'an pyramids in China are aligned with Orion. It's hard trusting an ancient tablet telling stories of beings coming from the sky and constructing structures aligned with the stars. But when these stories are backed up with real evidence, and it's clear as day that all major monuments around the globe are aligned with the stars, you have to start wondering, were the Sumerians telling the truth? If you still don't believe in the otherworldly origin of the pyramids of Giza, take a look at another passage from the Sumerian tablets. On a tablet, the image of smooth-sided, skyward rising peaks from them he drew. If it can be done, let it so be. Enlil, with approved, said, "Let them also as beacons serve." This passage, just like the first one, is not very specific, and it's hard to tell if it's really referring to the Pyramid of Giza, but the following passage is very specific, and reading it carefully leaves no room for doubt. It reads, "On the flatland, above the river's valley, Ningishida, a scale model built. The rising angles and four smooth sides with it he perfected. Next to it, a larger peak he placed. Its sides to earth's four corners he set. By the Anunnaki, with their tools of power, were its stones cut and erected. Beside it, in a precise location, the peak that was its twin he placed." I think it's obvious to say that this passage clearly refers to the Pyramid of Giza, which is the only structure aligned precisely with the Earth's four corners, as we explained earlier. The passage states that the pyramids were built by the Anunnaki being known as Ningishida, who was the son of Enki, and was later known to the Egyptians as Thoth, the god of wisdom and knowledge. It also explains how the Anunnaki used their tools of power to cut and put in place the massive stone blocks, another mystery for which we had no explanation as of now. It seems that erecting pyramids was probably a small effort for these beings, and as a result, we have already discovered thousands of pyramids all over the planet. But if an advanced ancient interstellar civilization initiated massive pyramid construction on our planet, wouldn't we find some pyramids or remains of pyramids on other planets as well? Well, we actually did. On July 20th, 1976, the satellite called Viking 1 became the first spacecraft to land successfully on Mars' surface and successfully performed its mission. During Viking's mission of exploring Mars, NASA received some shocking photographs. The first one shows a humanoid-shaped construction which stretches for miles. For some reason, NASA refused to photograph the area again, and only after much pressure from many institutions, NASA agreed to take one more photograph. In 1979, Viking sent a second photograph, showing the same structure but from a different angle. In the vicinity of the face, an ancient pyramid appeared. As always, NASA rushed to deny the discovery, telling us that what we see is just an optical illusion. Much later, when technology advanced, a special program was used in order to three-dimensionally shape the pictures. Thanks to this technology, it was determined that the Martian face is 460 meters high and over 1.7 kilometers long. The study of other pictures close to that area show multiple pyramids. This area received the name the Sidonia Complex, and the pyramid was called the D&M Pyramid. In time, multiple studies showed that the Giza pyramids are in fact a replica of those from the Sidonia Complex, which are far older. Even our Sphinx is placed in the same position to our pyramids as the Martian Sphinx is located to the Sidonia pyramids. Going even further, the studies showed that the placement of the Giza complex on Earth is on the exact same coordinates as the Sidonia complex on Mars. In conclusion, I think we can agree that we know little to nothing regarding our real history and our true origin. Like the 20th century French poet Charles Péguy says, "It's impossible to write ancient history because we do not have enough sources, and impossible to write modern history because we have too many." What if the stories of the ancients, tales of gods and angels, of giants and disasters, are more literal than they might seem upon first glance? Look closer, and an alternative history of the human race may be revealed, one which totally upends conventional knowledge and the history of power. This is an alternative history which has been censored out of human understanding, mostly forgotten or ignored. Consider elsewhere in the book of Enoch, in a chapter in which Enoch bears witness to the secrets of the lightnings and the secrets of the thunder. Some have suggested this chapter is meant to illuminate the riddles of energy and electricity. Again, this relates directly to the Anunnaki, who many believe have been trying to reveal similar secrets to human beings through crop circles for some time. In 1974, famed American scientist Carl Sagan oversaw the broadcast of the so-called Arecibo message into space. The goal? To contact extraterrestrial life with the most powerful radio waves ever produced by humans. The broadcast included information about the Earth's location, the appearance and DNA of human beings, as well as core principles of our mathematics and science. It was an ambitious, if outlandish, project. After all, what chance was there really of receiving a response? What chance indeed? 27 years later, a crop circle appeared in Chilbolton, England, next to the UK's largest telescope and observatory, which appeared to be a depiction of the Face on Mars photograph. Something even more mind-blowing appeared. There, in the same field, appeared a crop circle described as a dead ringer for Sagan's 1974 message. It was formatted in the same way and seemed to respond to the information originally broadcast into space, detailing a different solar system, the appearance of the sender, and information on non-human DNA. Some described it quite simply as the ultimate response we could have hoped for. But wait, if Sagan's message had received a response, who or what could have done such a thing? Could it really have been some sort of alien race? Some have suggested the answer to this question was revealed through the appearance of another crop circle in Italy in 2011. There in the small town of Porino, a crop circle emerged which depicted a 7-pointed star. Contained in the design was a code which seemed to identify its creator as somebody named Enki. This is not a random or inconsequential name. Enki is the name of an ancient Sumerian god, a precursor to Aquarius. More importantly, Enki was, according to some, the leader of an ancient group of aliens called the Anunnaki who visited Earth long ago. Thinkers like Zecharia Sitchin and Eric von Daniken have asserted that these Anunnaki colonized Earth some 500,000 years ago, genetically engineering human beings as a slave race. Perhaps it is the Anunnaki who are now contacting humans, announcing through crop circles the impending return of Enki. As Sitchin has stated, the zodiacal cycle returns to exactly the same spot every 25,920 years. So, we are now leaving the age of Pisces. Enki was the prototype god of Aquarius. Whether this means that it is all going to happen again, that Enki is coming back, I don't know. There are a lot of signaling and signs that all point in that direction. If human beings were enslaved by the Anunnaki before, then why not again? However, there is another side to the story, another angle to the Anunnaki legend. Many believe that this alien race has in the past provided humans with advanced technology and knowledge, that this in fact explains seemingly impossible structures like the pyramids or Stonehenge. With this in mind, look again at the 7-pointed star crop circle, which appeared in Italy. As researcher Michael Lee Hill pointed out, in the world of geometry and frequency, a 7-pointed star is crucially related to 432 Hz. Consider a cymatic image of a frequency exactly 4 octaves below 432 Hz appears as a 7-pointed star, identical to that found in Italy. Significantly, 432 Hz is known as the magic number, the natural frequency of the universe, Because of this, it has been suggested that the appearance of a 7-pointed star crop circle is a coded message. But what sort of coded message? A prominent Native American elder named Bear Cloud has cryptically suggested, when scientists learn that the 7-pointed star has a forward progression and recreates itself infinitely as a whole unit, there will be huge leaps in the progress of man. Meanwhile, Hill's research into the Italian crop circle produced a more concise message. Somebody is trying to tell us something. If I had to guess, it's to show that 432 hertz equals energy. In only the past few decades, crop circles have appeared across the world detailing complex mathematical equations, magnetic diagrams and motors, mechanical routers, and the field lines of an electrical charge. The work, according to some, of the Anunnaki. In fact, consider Enoch's description of his journey to meet the gods, while keeping in mind the UFO sightings which often accompany and complement these crop circles. I was taken to a kind of floating palace, Enoch said. It was huge, like carved glass. The floor had glass plates. Through the floor, you could see the stars we were crossing. With this in mind, one might wonder if the fiery chariot which took Enoch away before the Great Flood was not in fact an alien spacecraft. It may seem hard to believe that stories as mind-blowing as these, of Watchers and Anunnaki and Nephilim giants, stories which permeated ancient cultures for thousands of years, should be largely forgotten. The Sumerians erased from the pantheon of ancient civilizations. The Book of Enoch censored from biblical canon. However, given the way these stories fundamentally reshape human history and redefine what human beings are, their exclusion is perhaps no surprise. Yet maybe these stories were not, in fact, totally erased. Consider the well-known biblical story of Adam and Eve and the Garden of Eden. Read it not literally, nor philosophically, but as an allegory. Read it metaphorically. God creates Adam to watch over the earth, much as the gods send the watchers to do in the Book of Enoch. From Adam's rib, God creates Eve. Adam and Eve procreate, representing the interbreeding between the watchers and human females. Adam and Eve are told they can eat anything they want in the Garden of Eden, except fruit from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Of course, they do eat from the tree of knowledge, representative of the watchers bringing advanced technology and knowledge to human beings, which perhaps they were not mentally evolved enough to handle. Just as eating from the tree of knowledge provided Adam and Eve with the knowledge of God, so too did the Book of Enoch describe how the watchers revealed the eternal secrets which were preserved for heaven, which men were striving to learn. Reading the story of Adam and Eve this way, it is easy to see the parallels between it and the Book of Enoch. And perhaps that is just the point. Perhaps the people who wrote the story of Adam and Eve were simply retelling the stories in the Book of Enoch in their own way. Retelling the Sumerian story of the Anunnaki, as so many across religions and cultures had before them, inserting this crucial piece of human history allegorically into their own religious canon, so that these ancient records could continue to exist. Could the biblical story of Adam and Eve really just be a retelling of the Sumerian story of the Anunnaki, the true story of human origins? It is interesting to note that African tribes call the deity which created humanity Enkai, perhaps a translation of the Anunnaki's Enki. Further, the Adam's calendar site, which seems in modern times to be the center of a massive ancient civilization, hundreds of thousands of years old, is known to local tribes as Inzalo Ilanga, the birthplace of the sun, the place where heaven mated with Mother Earth. That is, the place where humanity was created by the gods. It seems that the ancient Sumerian story of the Anunnaki is repeating itself in the myths of others. But in fact, it goes beyond merely myth. If the first human beings really were created by crossbreeding between aliens called the Anunnaki and primitive humans called Homo erectus, then surely this would be recorded in our DNA today. In fact, it very well might be. Just look at the seminal Human Genome Project, which brought together the best scientists from all over the world between 1990 and 2003 in an effort to map the entire DNA sequence of the human genome. Stunningly, the project found that 97% of human DNA had no apparent function. This did not make sense. If 97% of DNA had no function, then it could not be explained by evolution. So why was it there? And how did it get there? One Human Genome Project researcher had an answer. We have to come to grips with the unbelievable notion that every life on Earth carries genetic code for his extraterrestrial cousin. Our hypothesis is that a higher extraterrestrial life form was engaged in creating new life. In other words, maybe human beings were created by aliens. Maybe our extraterrestrial cousin is the Anunnaki. There's more though. In 2010, a study published in Theoretical Population Biology journal confirmed that humanity's mitochondrial Eve lived about 200,000 years ago. Mitochondrial Eve is a scientific term for the first female genetic ancestor of a species. That is, the most recent female from which all living members of a species can trace their ancestry. The peak of a genealogical pyramid. So, in other words, science has now proven that the woman we are all descended from existed right at the time the ancient Sumerian texts tell us the Anunnaki were creating human women. Is this merely a coincidence? Or is it really possible that human beings were a genetic experiment conducted by aliens to create a species of slave mine workers? There is another question which can be asked here. If the Anunnaki created human beings as slave workers to mine gold, why? Why do they want gold so badly? According to Zecharia Sitchin, the Anunnaki used gold for a very specific purpose. They grounded it up into a fine powder and suspended it in the atmosphere around their planet in order to protect it from cosmic rays. In his words, on their planet Nibiru, ecological deterioration was making life increasingly impossible. There was a need to protect their dwindling atmosphere, and the only solution seemed to suspend gold particles above it as a shield. Interestingly, modern science has begun to explore a similar idea to deal with our own ecological deterioration. In 2016, the U.S. National Energy Technology Laboratory conducted a study which conceived and developed a new process that used gold nanoparticles to convert CO2 into usable chemicals and fuels. Researchers believe their breakthrough was the first step in developing an industrial-scale way to reduce carbon emissions using gold and save a dwindling atmosphere. As this type of thinking became a possibility, science began to seriously discuss the possibility of terraforming other planets like Mars. That is, engineering them to be more Earth-like, and thus more conducive to human colonization. In 2017, NASA even presented a way to make Mars more habitable by giving it an artificial magnetic field, which would protect humans from cosmic radiation and bring back the red planet's ancient oceans. Today, terraforming Mars has now become a favorite subject of tall foreheads like Elon Musk. Could it be that the Anunnaki were using the gold mined from Earth to do something similar to their own dying planet? Perhaps. Or perhaps there is another more sinister reason that the Anunnaki were desperate for gold. Every year, we find out more about just how crucial gold is to advanced technology. Gold is vital to many modern electronics as a highly efficient, pliable conductor that doesn't corrode. It is used in everything from smartphones and computers to GPS and beyond. But where gold is most crucial is in aerospace technology. During space travel, gold holds up better than other earth metals like silver and copper, which quickly tarnish. It is used as a lubricant between mechanical parts in the vacuum of space instead of oil, which evaporates quickly at extreme temperatures. Further, gold is used to reflect solar radiation in order to stabilize the core temperature of space vehicles. Without gold, the colored parts of a spacecraft would absorb significant cosmic heat and radiation, making human space travel impossible. This is why space vehicles and satellites are outfitted with a thin gold film, and why even the visors of astronauts' space helmets are coated with gold. Most simply, gold makes space travel and modern technology possible. So, take a step back. The story recounted by Sitchin is that the Anunnaki came to Earth to mine gold because they needed it to repair the atmosphere of their planet. But maybe that's just a story the Anunnaki told to make themselves sound justified. Maybe they lied. The atmosphere story just a clever piece of colonial propaganda. Maybe they actually needed gold to fuel their advanced intergalactic empire and created humans as slaves to get it. It might be asked, what happened to the Anunnaki? If they came to Earth for gold, where did they go? Earth still has gold. Do they not need it anymore? Maybe they do, but maybe now they get it in a different way. According to the ancient Sumerian texts, much of the newly created human population was wiped out in the cataclysmic flood event recorded in the Bible and many other human traditions. After the flood, the Anunnaki founded the Sumerian civilization before returning to their home planet to watch and control humans from afar. Perhaps this continues to this day. Perhaps humans, as we have been since the beginning, are still slaves. Whether or not this is true, it is interesting to note how important gold has been to human beings for the entirety of our history. Truly, you can't separate human origins from our obsession for gold. It was the first metal mentioned in the Bible in Genesis chapter 2, and since Sumerian times has been used as a store of value and medium of exchange. In fact, the modern global economic system was built on gold. which long backed all units of paper currency in circulation? Why was something which for so long was little more than a shiny metal assigned such value, shaping economics and empires, directing human history? Perhaps our obsession with gold is actually the Anunnaki's obsession. Are we slaves then? Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button, and if you're new, hit subscribe and the bell next to it for future notifications.
All right, I'm out, folks. We just hit 1 hour, 11 minutes, and 11 seconds. Peace, prosperity, and pineal power as always. And I'll see y'all soon on the next one. So take care, and maybe I'll do this one next. The unfolding of the human looks quite interesting, if I may say so myself.
All right, peace.
Every single video I have created for this channel thus far can be understood in terms of an effort to move beyond a mechanistic mode of orienting the human mind towards reality, and to sketch out what post